Alright, boys and girls, in this video I'm going to try my best to show you how to turn this over here into this right here. Let's get started by double clicking on this right here to open it in Photoshop. You're going to want a photograph of yourself that's taken relatively close up like this. This is maybe a little bit too far away, but find a photo like this and open it up in Photoshop, and let's get started. Let's start out by duplicating the background layer by pressing Ctrl-J on your keyboard. You can see I now have two layers over here. It's exactly what we want. And next we are going to give myself a nice alien skin tone by going to Image, Adjustments, and choosing Hue Saturation, or just pressing Ctrl-U. Normally we only play with the saturation. Today we're going to play with the hue. We're going to move this around until we have a nice skin tone that we want for our alien. You can play with the saturation a little bit to make it a little bit more intense. You can even use the lightness, take that down no more than about -10 or so. And that'll make it just a little bit darker and make it look a little bit better. Once you have the numbers here and the sliders where you want them, go ahead and press OK. And now we want to add in a photo of outer space. Let's open up the internet. As always, I'm using Google Chrome, so I'll pull that up. When this launches, I'm going to do a Google search for outer space. Once that loads, I'll go ahead and click on Images. And whenever we're working with full-size photos in Photoshop, we also want to grab full-size photos off the internet. So I'm going to go to Search Tools, Size, and choose Large. Now I'm going to find a photo that I want to use, and I don't know, let's try this one right here. I'll click on it. And you got to wait for this gray bar along the bottom to disappear, just like it just did right there. That means it is ready to be downloaded. So make sure you right-click on this image. Don't right-click on this little thumbnail. That won't work. You want to right-click right on this and choose Save Image As if you're using Google Chrome. And this box will pop up asking where we want to save it. I'm going to put this in period 1 Johnson, Mr. Alien, and it's already called Outer Space, so I'm not even going to bother to rename it. Just go ahead and press Save and wait for that to finish downloading. It shouldn't take long. Then I'll come back to Photoshop. I'm going to do a little File, Open. And I'll get into my period 1 folder by going to the photo drive, period 1, Johnson, Mr. and Alien. And here is my outer space photo that I downloaded. So I'll just double click on that. Once that opens up in Photoshop, you can see it's in a new tab. So I'll go ahead and click on the Move tool. I'll click right here anywhere on the image and just drag it up to this other tab. Still holding the mouse button down, I'll drag it down and let go. And it shows up right there. Every once in a while, just kind of depending on how your Photoshop was set up, this might show up underneath layer 1 like that, and you'll be like, I can't see it. Where is it? Well, it's there. It's just hiding behind layer 1. So if that happens, just move it so that it's on top of layer 1 so that it's covering up part of your face. And now we're just going to make this bigger so that it covers up all of the background. I don't need to worry about covering up any of this down here. So to do that, we do Control-T, which is the keyboard shortcut for Edit, Free Transform. And remember, whenever we do Control-T, we always hold down Shift and drag from the corners. And I'm going to enlarge this until it is covering up all of the background. You can see it is now. So I will go ahead and press Enter. Now at this point, we actually do want this behind layer 1. So I'll click on this layer over here in my Layers palette, and I will drag this down underneath layer 1. And you can see it has disappeared out here on the image. And that's okay, that's what we wanted. What we're going to do now is remove this background so that the space layer is behind me. To do that, I have to make sure I'm on layer 1. In fact, let's pause for a second and do something that will be smart. I'm going to double click right on the words layer 1. Don't double click out here, double click right on these words. And let's call this layer Alien. Then I'll double click right on the words layer 2, and we'll call this layer Outer Space, and just press Enter there. So let's make sure we're on the alien layer. If you're not, this is not going to work. In fact, this will be really complicated. So make sure you're on the right layer. And we're going to come over here and grab the 1, 2, 3, 4th tool down. It's the Quick Selection tool. Its keyboard shortcut is W. This tool makes life in Photoshop so much easier. You're going to love it. And you'll notice right off the bat, the Quick Selection tool is a circle, which means that the right bracket key will make it bigger. The left bracket key will make it smaller. That's probably about a good size right there. All I'm going to do is start clicking and dragging over the background. Whoop, one thing I forgot real quick. Come up here to the top. Make sure you've clicked on this button right here to make sure you're on that plus sign. And here we go. I'm going to start clicking and dragging. And you can see Photoshop is selecting things for me. And it's doing a great job. It got a little bit of my hair right there, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to just keep dragging down. And oh, look at that. It cut off my ear right there. That's okay. That's easy to fix. Let's keep going around. Boy, Photoshop's doing top-notch work here. And I come down and see I'm still missing just a little bit right there. So I'll make my brush smaller, and I'll just do a little click right there. And that looks pretty good, except for this few spots where it messed up. Right here on my ear, right there on my hair, and right here on my hair up here. But those are all easy to fix. Sometimes it'll mess up and look like this. Ah! Where it cut off almost all of my head. Well, that's a problem, and I will show you how to fix that. Whether it's just a little bit of your ear or whether it's your whole head, you're just going to press and hold the Alt key. And you can see when I do that, the plus sign inside of the circle turned into a minus sign. And now I'm going to click and drag on my face. And this is telling Photoshop to deselect what I'm clicking and dragging on. So I'll just go along my hair here very carefully, slowly. You notice I'm using a smallish brush, not trying to use too big of a brush. Get a little bit right there, missing my big ugly forehead. Let's get that squared away. There we go. And now just zoom in and keep holding down that Alt key, a little click right there. And then to get over here on my ear, I'm going to need an even smaller brush. So I'll hold down Alt and click on that. And looks like there's a little spot right there on my mouth. That's kind of weird, but anyways, looks like I got it. I'm just going to kind of pan around here. See how it looks? I'm going to do this by holding down the space bar and just clicking and dragging around. I'm not worried about that at all. My hair up there, after we're done, the hair's going to look so weird anyways. Doesn't really matter. That all looks pretty good. I like it. It's a pretty good selection. Take your time, get your selection good, because once you got this good, all you have to do is press the delete key on your keyboard, and all that background goes away, and we have a nice spacey background. Woo! And then we need to get rid of the selection. To do that, we press Control D. Make sure you do that before we do our next step. The next step will not work if you still have a selection somewhere. In fact, it's a good idea before you do the next step, even if you think you already have, just press Control D one more time, and that next step will go away. And now we're just going to go to Filter and choose Liquify. We're going to make sure we go with this one right here. Be careful. Sometimes there will be another Liquify right here. This is basically the last filter that you did. So I've done Liquify recently. So the last thing I did was Liquify. I don't want that one. Make sure you always choose this one right here. There are times when we'll use this, but not today. So we'll go ahead and click right there, or Control-Shift-X. All right, our Liquify box has popped up. We're going to be using the Forward Warp tool, the Pucker tool, and the Bloat tool. These three tools are our main ones. You might want to play around with some of these other ones, but you can do most of what we're going to do here with the Forward Warp tool, which is keyboard shortcut W. The Pucker tool is S, and the Bloat tool is B. So I'm going to start with the Forward Warp tool, and again, you'll notice this brush is a circle, which means right bracket key makes it bigger, left bracket key makes it smaller. And you do not have to copy me. Feel free to make your own alien however you want, but I've already got a huge forehead, and I always picture aliens having big foreheads. So it makes sense if I'm going to make myself into an alien that I'll do a nice big forehead just like this. And maybe make this brush a little bit smaller so I can tighten this up, push those sides of my hair in right there. And that's a good looking forehead right there. Then, I don't know, maybe I should have small squinty eyes, so I'll grab my Pucker tool. And that brush is way too big, so a little left bracket key to make it smaller. And I'm just going to click and hold the mouse button down and watch as my eyeballs shrink. Let's do the same thing over here. And my nose probably should shrink pretty big, pretty much too. But I want a big old mouth with big old lips, so I'll grab the Bloat tool for that and then just press and hold the mouse button down to do that. Very nice. Let's switch back to the Forward Warp tool. Again, don't feel like you have to do yours the same way I'm doing mine, The main thing I want you to focus on is to make sure that the alien still kind of looks like you. Don't overdo it to the point where when people look at it, they can't tell who it originally was. I want to make sure that this dude looks like me. So I'm not going to distort it too much. I do want to come in here with a nice small brush and poke those ears out a little bit like that. And I'll do the same thing here on the bottom. And then if you were feeling up to it, you could even come in and add some nice little spikes going off the top of your head like that. Like I said, do this your own way. Go with what works for you. You don't have to do ears at all like I did mine. But feel free to have fun with that and get creative. And when you're ready, just go ahead and press OK. All right, this dude is looking pretty handsome. I feel like we're ready to move on. Let's go ahead and add a cool little shape to this thing. You can find the custom shape tool down here towards the bottom of the toolbar. It's the one right above the hand. Its default is the rectangle tool, but if you right click on this, you can find the custom shape tool. And then you're going to want to come up here to where it says shapes up here at the top of your screen and click on this little down arrow. And you will see I have a lot more shapes than you have. That's okay. We're going to add all the shapes in. We'll click on this little gear icon right here. Come down here towards the bottom and choose all. And when this box pops up, press OK. And now you have all the same shapes that I do. I want you to pick 1 or 2 or 3, however many you feel like using, of a shape that you think would look good on your alien. For me, I'm going to go with this one right here. And I got a few options up here. I can decide ahead of time what color I want to use by clicking on either the fill right here or whatever my foreground color is will be my color. So let's do a bluish to kind of match my skin tone. In fact, I could even come out here and click with the mouse to choose the same blue that my forehead is. And if you wanted a border on yours, you could do that here. I do not, so I'll click on stroke and choose that. That's what it is by default. And then, whoops, just hit cancel there. Then I'm ready to go. All I'm going to do is come out here and just click and drag, and you can see it's going to make that shape for me. And there you go. Pretty cool looking, right? Well, I can change the color still by clicking on this and changing it up. But I actually want it to stay on that blue, so I'll leave that there. I can resize this by pressing Control-T, holding down Shift, and dragging from the corner, make it bigger or smaller. I could have it so it goes right off the edge of the canvas. Go ahead and press Enter when you're done with that. I can move this layer so that it is behind me. I would just grab the Shape 1 layer and drag it behind my alien. Just like that. And I'm still seeing all these weird lines. That's okay. Just switch to your Move tool, and those lines will go away. You can kind of decide what you want to do with this whole shape thing. You do not have to do what I did here. You can add your shape like it's a tattoo on the forehead, like it's a logo on your shirt, whatever you feel like doing. Add any shape you want by just clicking on the custom shape tool. You can even add multiple shapes. Maybe now I want to come in and do a little starburst right there. And I'll have this one be a different color. Oh, that changed the color of the one that was already there. So let's put that one on blue. That's a good thing to remember. And then let's draw this one first. I'm going to make this one look like it's kind of coming out from behind me. Kind of like that. And now to change the color of it, I have to switch back to my custom shape tool. And then click on this, and now I can choose a different color. And let's make that a reddish kind of thing. And then just press Enter there. And just like that, we've added our shapes. And this thing's looking pretty good. We just got to add one more thing. Let's go back to the internet. We're going to do a Google search this time for a spaceship. And again, if we need to, we'll go to search tool size, large again. And I'm going to look for a ship that will be pretty easy to cut out. And by that I mean it's not going to blend into the background too well. Like this ship right here would be a nightmare to try to cut out. The ship is really dark, the background's really dark. That thing just blends together way too well. I'm going to go ahead and go with this one right here. I think this one's pretty easy to do, but it's still a very cool looking ship. You go with whatever you like. I'm going to right click and choose Save Image As. Save this bad boy again, put it in my alien folder. It's actually already there. I'll just hit save anyways. That will download. Then, of course, I'll go back into Photoshop. File, open. Here's my spaceship, so just double click on that. And just like everything else, it opens in a new tab. And just like everything else, we will start by grabbing the Move tool and clicking and dragging it over into our alien photo. Dropping it right here. And you can see that I can't see it. I can kind of see it poking out. There it is right there. But it's not uncommon for that thing to load up and not be able to see it. Remember, if that happens, it's just because the layer is behind your alien layer. So click and drag it up above the alien layer, and there it is. Now before we do anything, let's remove the background, just like we did before. Quick selection tool. Keyboard shortcut is W, of course. And we'll just start selecting the background. And you can see Photoshop's doing a pretty bang up job. So it missed the nose a little bit, so I'll just hold down Alt. Get that back. Missed the edges here a little bit. Hold down Alt, get that back. Missed a little bit of the wing right there, so I got to go a real small brush. Zoom in nice and tight. Hold down Alt, get that back right there. And then it missed this little spot right there, so I'll let go of Alt because I need to add that in. And that's pretty good. Good enough for what we're doing. So now I feel pretty good about that selection. I'll just press the Delete key and then Control D to make that go away. You can see for some reason it missed this little white edge right there. That's okay. Just grab the eraser tool and let's just manually erase that thing, just like we have done in the past. Just get rid of that using the eraser. There's a little line right there as well. At this point, I'm just going to move this over up here into the corner. I do want this spaceship to look like it's behind me, so I will move it behind or below the alien layer. And I do want to resize it a little bit, so I'll Control T, make it a touch bigger. And I also want to rotate it a little bit. To do that, what you do is just move your cursor away from your free transform box, and you can see it turns into that little bendy arrow thing, and I can just click and drag, and I can rotate that now. And once I have it where I like it, I will just press Enter. Okay, last thing I need to do is just crop this bad boy. So I'll grab my crop tool, and I want to crop these as 8x10s. This is a requirement for the assignment. Make sure you crop it as an 8x10. I'll click on that, and you can see I have to decide. I'm going to lose some of my photo. Do I want to lose it off the top or off the bottom? In this case, there's important stuff at the top, and there's nothing really important at the bottom. So I absolutely want to cut off the bottom and save the top. So I'm going to move that down. Oh, I went a little too far. I got a little bit of the white right there. I don't want that. Let's move that back up. You can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard to do smaller movements, and that's what I'm doing right now. It's just pressing the down arrow. And I like that right there, so I'll go ahead and press Enter. Okay, let's save this bad boy. First thing we want to do is go to File, Save. Make sure we are in our period and our folder and our alien folder. Let's call this, maybe add in the word completed, and make sure we are saving it as a Photoshop so that we do not lose any of our layers. Go ahead and press save, and you'll see this blue bar down here at the bottom. You can't really do anything until that blue bar is done, so we have to wait for that to finish. And there you go, it's done. So now I'll go to File, Save As, and this time to turn this file in, we need to save it as last name, comma, first name, so that's mine. And then make sure we change Save As Type right here to JPEG. Remember, you cannot turn in Photoshop files, either to Flickr or Canvas or any of that stuff. So we have to save it as a JPEG. But we're actually not turning this into Flickr or Canvas. You can certainly more than welcome to upload it to Flickr, but I'm actually going to, before I hit save, I'm going to go back to period 1, and look at this. Here's a file right here called Alien Photos. And here is where I'm going to save it. You can see it's actually already there, so when I press save, it's going to say, hey, do you want to replace it? I'll say sure. And remember, whenever we save a JPEG, when this weird box pops up, just press OK. And guess what, boys and girls? You are done. Now, when you close this, it might ask you if you want to save it. We've already saved it, so just press no. We'll close everything. Maybe let's check Bridge real quick. Go back to period 1, Alien Photos. Make sure our picture is in here. It looks like it is, which means we're good to go. Congratulations.